Leonhard, you want to start and tell us a little bit about Kärcher?
Yes, sure. So welcome from my side. I think everyone knows Kärcher. Now the presenter is not working, but most likely from the products of the high pressure washers. So if we are talking about consumer business, which makes like 50% of our business in total, we are famous for the yellow products for the high pressure washers in the garden area, but especially in the indoor area, we also have some nice robots, connected products, and so on. The other 50% of our revenue is based on professional and special business products, where you can see high pressure washers for industries, but also kitchens for armies, for example, are done by Kärcher. So there's a quite big variety of products. More than 3,000 products we have, and then about 700 active patents. So innovation is key to our business model.
Yeah, so a journey that you have, has several levels. So the digital transformation always takes place on several levels, and we're happy that we did this journey together, so we and Kerscher. So we had the basis, so we showed it as a house. If you want to digitally transform your enterprise, you have to start, or you have the starting point kind of the technology base, doing all the cleanup that is needed to be future ready. The next step is, of course, adopt the processes to the possibilities the technology brings to you. And that means like a third layer on top, really managing the change, making people adjust to the changes, motivate people to use the new technologies, and to invent their own new processes based on the possibilities you have. And I would really love to understand how you fill that house coming to AI for everyone.
I think especially for Kärcher, it's as with many other companies. Usually, if we start new projects, it's always about we want to introduce new tools or new solutions, which is often based on technology. We forget about processes, we forget about people, and so on. But I think also in the technology area, we try to ask ourselves quite often, what would we do if we don't have any history in Kärcher? So if you think on a green field, like on a green grass, like you see it here, what would we do? And that was like for more than 10 years, driver for decisions we made in regards to technology, to processes, but also to people. I put a rough timeline in here, and I don't take minutes to explain it, but in general, more than 10 years ago, we started to introduce first cloud solutions at Kärcher. Cloud means for us public cloud, so it's always about public cloud platforms. We introduced e-commerce worldwide, we introduced IoT solutions, connected products in the professional field, which was called Kärcher Fleet, but also we have, in the meantime, connected products in the field of our consumers. We were driving cloud migrations to a cloud-first strategy. In 2020, we went to a cloud-only strategy. So we pushed our company to really be more cloud-driven, more digital, in order to gain insights and topics in flexibility, scalability, and so on. One of our big game changers, so cloud was coming in slowly, was the decision to migrate to Google Workspace end of 2019. So we had a longer evaluation between different platforms, different solutions, and we did some proof of concepts, piloting solutions, also Google Workspace. And at some stage, it was the same questions we got asked by our board members. They asked, what would we do if we would build Kärcher on green grass? Like if we think on a green level, what would we do? And this was how the decision to Google Workspace came. And you will see in the next slides that we tried to do that change not only technological wise, but also in processes and in people with a change process. We migrated further into cloud. We introduced a complete cloud native plant in Vietnam, our newest plant. And in summer of last year, we started to roll out Google Gemini for all our employees. So this was a clear decision also by the board members that we roll out Gemini for everyone in Kärcher to use Gen AI in our daily processes.
Yeah, now it comes to the for me, most interesting topic of change. So we have this picture here because we compared it to like kids on the playground. So you stick in that sandbox, and then what you did like was basically throwing in new stuff to play every now and then. So this cloud part. And then after a while, the kids get maybe a bit bored or they start fighting over the stuff to play. And they cannot get out of the way they are used to do things. So sometimes it might help to open up a completely new playground next to it and then giving the kids the chance, they're curious, running over there and taking the chance to doing things maybe different than on the playground that they were used to. So maybe you can tell us a little more about that changing playground idea.
I will do. So basically, and I think also this is known by many companies. When we went into the decision to Google Workspace, we made some analysis. So we had historically grown solution built in Excel with macros and so on, which were developed by some single people in our business units. Maybe they already left the company and no one did ever know how to improve or how to change these solutions. So it was really historically grown. It was a very heterogeneous environment as Kärcher was growing for many years. We doubled our revenue between 2010 and 2020. We rolled out many new subsidiaries in different countries, so it was really a grown environment. And for us, in 2019, we were still lacking communication and collaboration tools, so there was no proper tooling for global collaboration and culture. The question was, where do we want to go to? In the end, it was about integrated communication, but also collaboration to have a seamless platform. We wanted to standardize. This was the IT aspect, I have to say. So for me, in the IT, it was something I had driven. But also the topic of security, unsecure files, unsecure documents going around was a big part of what we did. And this comes back to the house you saw earlier about the processes and the people. We wanted to enforce the people to work completely different than they did before. So really to change the way they work in their everyday life. And to our point of view, this was only possible to really completely change the sandbox and to give them something else to work on. So what we achieved was like we went from a system channel which we had worldwide, so we had all tools in place you can use for file sharing and so on. We had all tools for communication. We had so different styles of communication to one global platform we rolled out to everyone. I have a short timeline. So what we achieved in the years, we started 2020 with the rollout of Google Workspace. We did a pilot rollout, and I can say the board members of Kärcher were the first ones who were the pilots. So the board members were really pushing to adopt this change. There was a very high management attention on that one. We migrated our headquarter next, so to half of the headquarter within the first 2 months of the rollout, and then we started a global rollout. We rolled out more than 13,000 employees until 2023 with Google Workspace. This means we also migrated data from the existing file sharing solutions to Google Drive, migrated processes, and also we changed processes. So this is the layer of the processes. For example, we had more than 3,000 shared mailboxes. Every business process in Kärcher was starting. It felt like starting with a shared mailbox. In the meantime, we have less than 100. So it was a clear target to get rid of shared mailboxes, but to take ticket processes, workflows into consideration instead of that. There was one success factor we also hadn't had before. We implemented a lot of Google Guides, which is also part of the best practice by Zoe and by Google. So we introduced a complete new key user community within Kärcher, which the people are placed in the business units clearly, and they were driving that change on all levels into the business units. They were at the forefront and the front runners of that change. just some figures, and then I think we head to the next topic. So we migrated nearly 80 subsidiaries, 13,000 users, I already said. The interesting part coming from the Google Guides is this one. So we educated 1,100 people out of 15,000 we had to be front runners in the business, to adapt new changes, to transform the business units, to be able to digitize further and to get that digital mindset in. So that was a clear benefit to mobilize the complete organization and not only take care about technology.
Yeah, that sounds like quite a wave that rolled over Kärcher to switch to Google Workspace, but for a reason. And now it's interesting to know what is the next wave coming and how you are going to write it.
Yeah, basically, I would say the change to Google Workspace was back that years. It was more a tsunami than a wave in the beginning, but we managed to nail it down. For us, it was clear it was just the first wave of change to the organization. So we always hope that there will be more improvements we can see if we do that change to Google Workspace. And this is where Gemini, the AI of Google, came in, where we also did a pilot last spring, and then decided to roll out Google Gemini for all employees in the Kärcher subsidiaries worldwide. So it was a clear decision by the board members again to invest in Gemini. We got the approval to roll it out in August, and then we started to build a team again to mobilize our Google Guides, which were already existing, so they were there. And then we started to do the rollouts, and we finished the rollout in February. To enable Google Gemini is not the big case. So like the technological part of that house, it's like you have to click and Gemini is active for the users. So it's really about processes and people. It's a complete change project and not bound to technology. This is the fun part, I have to say. And this is what we tried to do during our rollout. So we had, I brought some figures of our German rollout week. Every subsidiary had a rollout week. In our German headquarters, we had like a Monday morning kickoff with about 2,600 employees participating in the stream. Our CEO, we can see him quite often up. He was pushing and supporting that rollout. We had every morning Gemini kickstarts, wow moments. There was also a lot of concepts by Zoe who supported in that. During that week, we had 11,000 people participating in change calls, idea calls, wow moments, and so on. And also we had about 2,100 people taking like a Gemini training during that week. So it's just figures about 1 week of rollout in Germany. It was quite a lot of communication and transformation. In general, our setup for the Gemini rollout, as I said, it's not a technical project. It's a lot about training. With a basic training, this is mandatory to all employees worldwide. So also linking to the European Union AI Act. Everyone is trained and has to do it, otherwise the license is revoked to the users. Then we have application-specific trainings, how to use Gemini in Gmail, how to use Gemini in Google Docs and Slides, and so on. And now we also rolled out role-specific trainings, for example, for assistants, but also for sales members, service technicians, and so on. So it's really like a pyramid to train people. I think you get a feeling to roll out AI is not, it's a lot of change, a lot of communication. It's not the challenge by technical staff in the IT. What we also do as part of a KPI-driven company, we are reporting the figures since February on a worldwide scale. So the subsidiaries in the regions can see how's their Gemini usage. For example, here you can see an average 65% of our people are using Gemini at least once per month, which is okay just after rollout. But if you see the other figure on the right-hand side, this is the average days people are using Gemini. So usually you have about 20 working days. And what we see is that Africa is using it 6 or 7 days. Germany, Asia, and so on. So the usage is not that it's used every day. We have to work on improving that clearly. And also we are reporting the usage per application, the amount of prompts, and so on. These figures is shared with all vice presidents, with all managing directors, and so on. So it's clearly part of the change, and they are encouraged to drive their business units, to drive their businesses, to drive the change to use Gen AI. And we will go further. So this is like the outlook. We are doing a Gemini Grand Prix. We will have Gemini heroes. We will force that reporting, that role-based training I talked about. So there's a lot more to do, and it's all not technical. So we are talking about that house again, and we are just talking about the people to adopt the processes, to get the changes into their organizations. I think what you can see with the pictures, we did a lot of mobilization with Gemini, and for us it was the second wave. So without having Google Workspace rolled out before, it would not have been possible to accelerate our business to be able to use generative AI on a global scale within 6 months. That's why we had the basis, or we had the foundation with our Google Guides to do that change, or just to start that change. And for us, we believe that this Gen AI and Gemini is a game changer for our industry in Germany. So it will help us to keep our people in Germany, to increase productivity, and to keep robust in our business model, clearly. I think it's also what our purpose is telling, our company purpose, which is always reflecting to renew, to sustain. And this is where I want to close the loop back to that green grass field in the beginning, always where we ask ourselves as part of the DNA, what would we do if we would start again on green grass, the complete company? Thank you very much.
Thank you.